I learned about the SEAL teams from my dad. So he did a tour in Vietnam, and before he left for Vietnam, he was a paratrooper, so he went through airborne school at Fort Benning. So while my dad was there in 1965, there just so happened to be about a dozen underwater demolition team frogs, which was the pre-organization before the SEAL teams were established in 1962. So in 1965, he's going through jump school with about 12 of these guys that were transitioning to the SEAL teams. Dad would tell these stories about like these guys were as hard as nails, you know, anything the instructors did didn't faze them. And because they were sort of outliers from the regular Army crew, the instructors, you know, what we called the black hats at Fort Benning Jump School paid particular attention to these Navy folks, meaning that they hammered them, gave them extra duties and everything else, and these SEALs just like were completely unfazed by it. So that was the first conversation. I'd never even heard about a Navy SEAL before that story being told by my dad. And that started me down the path of doing some research. So these were what we called the naked warriors that swam into the beaches of Normandy and Iwo Jima and everything else and cleared the landing site for the amphibious assault. So we were literally, meaning the UDTs, were literally the first people there. And then in 1962, John F. Kennedy founded the SEAL teams. He saw that there was a need for a maritime special operations component. That was a capability we didn't have in the United States. So he founded the SEAL teams in 1962, January 1st. You know, once I learned about the training and the fact I loved being in the water, it really resonated with me. And it literally was the first long-term goal I ever set out for myself. SEAL training, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a rigorous, it is the most physically and mentally challenging training that the U.S. military has to offer. There's an 80% drop rate between people who quit or don't physically make it or meet the minimum criteria. 80% of candidates that apply to BUD/S training don't complete it. It is built into a 6-month program that's called Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL School. So my mindset was determined. It was total commitment and determination to make it through training. That doesn't mean that it was easy. So there's 2 moments in BUD/S that I can reflect on and remember. They both happened in first phase. One was very early on in first phase, and we had ran down to North Island with the boats on our head, and my boat crew was last, or we did something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but one of the instructors pulled our boat crew aside and says, "That's it, you guys are getting hammered," made us get wet and sandy, fill our pockets and everything with sand. They had some name for it outside of sugar cookie, but we filled our pockets and pants with sand, and then he made us shovel a bunch of sand into our boat. So whatever that boat weighed, we doubled the weight of it. And he's like, "Up boat, catch up with your class." And I'm telling you that boat was too heavy. And I'm running with this boat on my head, and I'm 18 years old and I'm fit, and I can barely keep my head up. It's like pushing my head down, and the pressure's like feeling like, man, this thing might break my neck. And right as I get to the mindset where man, I can't do this anymore, quitting wasn't happening, but I physically was getting to the point where I'm gonna collapse under this boat. Thank God the rest of my boat crew had sort of the same physical reprieve at the same time, because I was like, "I got a down boat." And they were like, "Oh, down boat," and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die." But there was moments, because that was probably took 2 to 3 minutes of us, which was a really long, put something on your head that's really uncomfortable for 1 minute. And we did this for 3 minutes. And but during that 3 minutes, the whole time when I realized that I wasn't physically capable of keeping my head really erect under the boat and supporting it, that I thought I might not be able to make it. I thought if this is a normal thing that I'm gonna be doing on BUD/S on a regular basis, I may not be able to physically do it. But the fact that my boat crew had kind of the same emotional response at a similar time kind of lifted my confidence back up. And we never had an issue like that again. And then the second one happened later in first phase, when I, as an 18-year-old kid, was waking up in the morning sore. And I'll never forget this one morning, we were getting ready for a conditioning run. I think we woke up at 3:30 for a 4 o'clock in the morning conditioning run. And I'm tired and stiff and achy. And the class leader gets out there, is like, "Okay, form up, we're getting ready to take off." And in my head, I was like, what are you doing to your body? You're an 18-year-old kid and you feel like you're 80. And I had this thought in my head, what am I doing to myself? Am I damaging myself permanently? And the next thing I know, the whistle blows and we're off on our, running to form up on the beach, and it didn't even become another thought in my head, but I just had that moment. I won't call it self-doubt, but it was questioning. It was like, man, this is really exhausting. This is really sore. And I'm an 18-year-old kid at 4 o'clock in the morning. This isn't a normal feeling, is it? And then it just kind of disappeared again. But very quickly while I was in training, I saw the power of what a team can do. And my mindset changed from being very selfish and ego-driven to actually buying into the team concept. And this happened at Buds. It happened before I was in first phase. It actually happened in pre-training. I watched how the instructors were interacting with each other, and I was watching how they were interacting with the students. These people that the instructors were taking very seriously. At some point, I may be operating with Newman. Is that somebody that I want to be in the field with, that I want to trust with my life and my teammates' life? Is this someone I can depend on? And that's what really drew me in, and that's when that totally changed the dynamic for me at Buds. It was no longer about me, it was about being a successful team and organization. And I really have kind of kept that mindset through the rest of my career and to my life today.